Ange, we didn't see Sonny at training this morning. Is he okay? And is there any other injury news?
No, the one's missing today. Sonny was a bit sore after the weekend. He was never going to be involved tomorrow anyway because he missed a bit. So we're just leaving him out of tomorrow and see how he is from there. Jed Spence trained individually today. Everyone else was out there.
Troy Parrott's coming back to Spurs, having only left permanently in the summer. He was here for 7 years, only played a handful of games and none under you. How do you reflect on his time here? And did he get a proper chance?
Yeah, look, I think it's good to see Troy doing well. I think he had a great loan spell last year in the Dutch league, and he's looking like he started his AZ career in positive fashion too. So it's great. In terms of getting a chance, that's sometimes football's just about timing. We've got a striker here, mate, that was at Chelsea and Liverpool early in his career. He's done all right since. So I think there's a pathway forward for everybody.
Yeah. Hi, Ange, how are you?
I'm good, mate.
As you already said there, Sonny was bruised a little bit after the weekend. It was quite a feisty game, certainly in the second half, quite a battering game. Spurs have been fined today for their players not being controlled in the melee, which led to, after Kudus was sent off. Just in general, sum up for us whether that was what you'd like to see in terms of your side or what you expect to see from your side.
I don't know if that's an accurate description of what I saw. I mean, there was obviously that sort of incident with Kudus, and apart from that, I don't think it was that feisty a game. I don't think there was too many cards outside there. I'm not really sure what we did wrong, apart from, there was a coming together. But I mean, I think, a couple of our players had hit the deck by then, so you'd like to think that we'd go in there and at least protect. I thought our players controlled themselves, but obviously, the FA felt differently. But I didn't feel there was anything edgy in that game at all. Just a player who maybe lost his composure for a second, Kudus, which I think is not really like him anyway, from what I've seen him as a player, but it happens. And for the most part, I thought there was a fair bit of restraint there. If there was anything more, there's plenty of video evidence to charge players with. So, but I guess the look of it's not great, but I don't think it was anything untoward. And
in this competition, made a great start so far. In terms of that, I mean, are your team maybe a well-set European team? In terms of Premier League is very different to European football.
Yeah, look, we've started the competition really well so far. Different challenges in both games. Obviously, the first game at home, we had a player sent off in the first few minutes, which provided its own unique challenge for us. And then whenever you play away in Europe, like we did in the last game, at Ferencváros, again a different challenge. We've exposed especially some of our younger players to European football, which I think is a positive, and you see growth from that, and we want to continue that. Again, a good challenge tomorrow. AZ, good side. And from our perspective, particularly here at home, a good opportunity for us to continue our form.
Hi, Ange. I've noticed you're taking a lot more short corners this season. I think it's around 38% at the moment. Just wanted to know what the thinking was behind that.
Same as anything else, mate. We think it's an effective way to kind of look at set pieces. Nothing too scientific. I think it sort of falls in line with our game plan of trying to control those kind of situations. Fair to say on the weekend, especially first half, our set pieces were really poor. We were all disappointed with them, more around the delivery than anything else, because if you don't get the delivery right, it's not great. But when you have I think we had 12 corners in a half of football, shows how dominant you are, but we didn't really use them to any effect. So, something we need to improve on.
Hi, Ange. With Nicholson just returning to fitness, is he in a position to start tomorrow?
Yeah, I think Richie got through the weekend really well. He's trained. It's almost the second week of training now, and he's ready to go in terms of being available for sure.
Nicholson know the bear as well. He's back in training. Chance of him getting some game time tomorrow?
Yeah, potentially. Again, we're just going to be a bit more careful with him because obviously he's missed a lot and he's only had sort of this week of training. But We'll be involved tomorrow in the squad. Game time will be a little bit game dependent, I think, with him. But good to get him back, and certainly, after this week, should be fully available.
Thanks, Ange.
Thanks, mate.
Question in ESPN Netherlands. How many questions did you ask Mickey van der Ven about AZ, or did you already know everything about AZ?
I think I know more about Dutch football than Mickey van der Ven. He was in Germany. He was at... No, look, I know AZ really well. I know Dutch football really well. Australia's always had a strong connection with Dutch football. Yeah, so I've always followed it very closely. And AZ, we played AZ when I was at Celtic in the Europa League a couple of years back. So always a good side, really good at identifying young talent. There's also a bit of a Japanese connection there because I followed them closely. I mean, when we played them last time, Sugiwara was there. Now he's in the Premier League, and we've got Maikano there now. So I've always followed Dutch football and AZ, so we know the information we need.
Neil.
Sorry. So you follow Dutch football a lot. Are you surprised that Mickey, he was born in the region of Alkmaar, has never played at AZ? And the second question is, how do you look at his developments at the national Dutch team, and do you talk with him about that?
Yeah, look, with Mickey, fair to say he kind of developed late but very quickly, because I think even at Volendam there was a period they were unsure about him, but you could tell once physically he grew and the kind of player he was, his journey went very quickly. Obviously, Volendam, and then the year he had in the Bundesliga, he adjusted really well. And then I thought for us last year he was outstanding for his first year in the Premier League, and obviously he had an injury which kind of set him back a little bit. But he's growing all the time. He's maturing. I think he'll become more of an influence at national team level. He's now, he's played a couple of games at left back, at left centre back. So and I think for him, the more he plays with the national team, I think it'll give him even more belief. But he's going very well, and I'm sure he'll be important. He'll definitely be an important member for our team, but also for the Dutch national team.
And how much of your personal footballing philosophy being influenced by Dutch football, thinking back to days of total football back in the 70s, and what do you like best about it?
Yeah, no, great influence. I kind of, the whole sort of total football era was kind of when I first, sort of fell in love with the game, and 74 World Cup, probably the pinnacle of total football, was also Australia's first time in a World Cup, mate. So at 2 a.m. I was up watching a grainy black and white TV, and fascinated by the way the Dutch went about their football. Johan Cruyff, I think, was a genius in many respects, not just as a footballer, but as a football thinker. Great influence. And then that sort of filtered into Australian football. We've had Gus Hiddink took us to the next World Cup, and many Dutch coaches have come through there. So, it's been a strong influence in a lot of sort of my thinking. People talk about my high line, but watch the Dutch in 74 and you'll see something even more radical than me. So I've got a bit of a way to go.
Go on, John.
Just to go quickly back to the FA charges, from what you're saying, do you expect to be let off, seeing as it was two of your guys on the ground and one of theirs going tonto?
I think we've been fined, haven't we?
You have been fined?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Not me.
Yeah. But, okay.
The club, I think we've got a fine.
So that was a mistake then,
What was a mistake?
being fined for... Is it just something you're moving on from here?
No, we've been fined. All I said was I just think we handled it as best we could, but obviously the FA thought it wasn't a good look and has fined us for it. But yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Fair enough, thanks.
Gentleman in front, please, John. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd say it's your ambition to play Champions League next season. Is it? Would you rather get there by winning the Europa League or by ending in the first four in the Premier League?
What happens next year will happen next year. What our ambitions are, to obviously do well in this competition, and you know, where that takes us is kind of secondary to us. You know, trying to, you know, do well in the Europa League. We weren't in Europe last year, and I think we missed it as a football club. It's important we're in there, and when you're in there, it's important you make an impact. So, you know, that's where kind of our ambitions lie. We've started the competition well, but you know, still a long way to go. Both in the group stages and obviously in this knockout stages. There's some very, very good football sides in this competition. So, you know, one step at a time for us. We want to have a good performance tomorrow night and like I said, continue our good form in this comp.
Okay, we'll go, if you could pass the mic to Rob, and then we'll finish with George at the back after Rob, please.
And just to follow up another question, did you ever have a chance to manage in Holland? Were there any offers in your career to go there? And I know you were very close to Puskas in your time in Melbourne. Did you ever meet any of the Dutch legends from '74, like Cruyff or Rep or Niskins, for example?
No, no, I didn't really have an opportunity. I know, I got to know, and I still know John Van Schip really well, who's you know, part of that Ajax kind of folklore, the greatest sides, and he spent time in Melbourne, and yeah, great guy. I've spent some time with him. Yeah, he ended up coaching the Greek national team too recently as well, and like I said, I've always had ties with people in Dutch football. Han Berger, who was a technical director in Australia for quite a while, and the late Pim Verbeek, who spent time. So, you know, I think all legends, you know, in their own way. Like I said, a real strong Dutch influence, both in Australia, but also for me personally, and always loved, like I said, Dutch football, Dutch footballers. I've always followed it keenly.
Finish with George at the back, please.
Hi, Ange. It's the 20th anniversary of Bill Nicholson's death today. He left Spurs in 1974, so I don't imagine you would have seen much of his Tottenham team. But kind of how much have you learnt about him since you've been here? And I guess, you know, he was manager 50 years ago, but his legacy stands the test of time. Is that kind of a source of inspiration as well when you talk about making a mark somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I've often said when I fell in love with the game, I fell in love with the game, not just playing it. So I've always, you know, from a young age, had a real keen interest in history and club histories and great players, but I always had a real fascination with great managers, and he was certainly one of them. And you always measure that, obviously, by the success they have is one sort of fairly obvious way to look at a tenure of a manager. But like you said, legacy is much more important, and you know, he's one of those figures, like, you know, very few, who's left an indelible mark that will always be here, because it wasn't just about winning, how they won, the way he carried himself, the kind of person he was. Those kind of things, I often say, are far more important than the achievements. And yeah, he's left the ultimate legacy, really, because I think, you know, in many ways, how the club is defined and wants to be defined is very much, you know, the qualities and the values that he brought. You know, like I said, 20 years since his passing, but certainly time has not diminished his influence, and you feel it, you know, even to the present day.
Do you see a lot of similarities with kind of how your team wants to play? And I guess the way that, you know, I think his famous quote is, you know, if we foul, we want to foul aiming high, not succeed aiming low. That sort of feels like it fits with yourself.
Yeah, look, I think there is, you know, I've said before, I feel like there is a synergy between sort of, you know, what the club aspires to be and sort of who I am and what I've been. So I think it certainly helps me, because I kind of, you know, when I'm sort of unwavering in my belief going forward, I like to think it's aligned to what the club wants. I'm not sort of, you know, going against the grain, so to speak.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you like the